Hey, what's up guys? John here. Los Angeles is in crisis. There's $18 billion worth of commercial mortgages that have to be refinanced over the next 18 months. Already $800 million of which is marked with red tape. So what are we going to look at here? What are we going to see here? I'm going to show you a whole new California that's being rebuilt before your eyes to the likes in which you can't imagine. 2.5 million homes is what they need to build, and what they're targeting to build. It's already law. What they're targeting to rebuild in the next 6.5 years. Where do you put 2.5 million houses in California in a dense location? You're going to put them in cities. You're going to put them in office buildings. They're going to be converted from office to residential. Things are going to change to the likes of which many people can't comprehend. And I'm going to break this down with verifiable facts that I'll leave in the show notes for you so you can digest this information. You can research it yourself. It's all true. It's all happening. And it's going to change real estate. It's going to change the economy. It's going to change everything about California. Please hit that like button. When you hit the like button, YouTube's going to share this content to educate more people about what's actually happening in this economy. And today's video is sponsored by my company, GreatCreditFast.com. That's GreatCreditFast.com. GreatCreditFast.com. If your credit needs help, we would love to give you a free strategy session. I believe we're in the greatest wealth transfer of all time. Those with great credit have more opportunity, so we'd love to help you. Take a look at this. 2.5 million homes by 2030, right? Now, look at what's happening. Look at what the smart money, the deep pockets are doing right now. So downtown LA office to residential conversion. Barry Starlight, founder of Starwood. They own 175,000 single family homes nationwide. They just acquired a $200 million distressed asset out of foreclosure, a skyscraper in downtown LA. Now they're looking at being converted to residential. And it's not just them. You're seeing Jameson. Jameson is one of the largest developers in Los Angeles, and they're also doing the same thing, looking for office to residential conversions. There's a lot of different cities all over the country, a lot of different places looking at this office to conversion scenario because they're all following the same exact roadmap. So it doesn't even matter if you live in California or not. This is actually coming to a city near you. So take a look at this. So 10 major markets. You have Manhattan, Chicago, LA, Atlanta, Houston, right? After considering 20,000 buildings with 15,000 square feet, 6,200 of the 20,000, so about 35% of those buildings would be perfect for this office to residential conversion. And so in Los Angeles, they're not just doing office to residential. They're actually considering doing big box retail to storage or big box retail to industrial. They're looking to change everything, all of real estate in California. Look at this. So converting office space to apartment buildings is hard. States like California are trying to change that. Newsom put this out about 2 months ago, saying 3 months ago, California housing crisis unchanged by political efforts, right? He initially wanted to add 3.5 million homes by 2025, he said in 2017. However, now he's saying just in line with what's happening now of adding 2.5 million figure, right? He needs 2.5 million units by 2030. The same exact thing CBS News just said, right? That's probably unrealistic as well. It would mean more than 350,000 units a year, but still higher than 1986 construction peak. They're going to push and push and push to add more and more housing units. But the big question is, if they're saying right now that there's $18 billion set to mature, and you're going to add that type of housing stock to the rental market, and rents are already starting to fall in Los Angeles, the obvious scenario would be that rents will likely continue to fall. And if investors over the last couple of years were buying deals at a 3% or 4% or 5% return, so they're barely producing revenue, and then you're going to dump tons of new housing stock on the market, what would likely happen? Rents likely will continue to soften. So if rents continue to soften and the cost to service debt is more expensive as interest rates rise and insurance and taxes are going up, it would mean that this commercial crisis that they see now is very small in relation to what is very likely coming down the road. Look at California's situation right now. They have 14.21 million housing units, right? And they want to add 2.5 million units, right? So they want to increase California's housing stock entirely by roughly 18%. So it wouldn't be unrealistic to say that rents in California may fall another 10, 15, 20%. So if that does happen, and a lot of investors already lost 5% on net rents over the last 6 months in Los Angeles, well, it looks like there's going to be a hell of a lot of landlords that are going to be facing financial difficulty in Los Angeles. And if their target is to add 2.5 million housing units, we have to look at the writing on the wall, that a lot of landlords are actually going to be losing those properties, and a lot of change is going to be happening. Look at this situation here. Why LA's new mansion tax to help homeless is an empty promise. Now, they have this mansion tax, And this mansion tax, by the way, and this all correlates together. This mansion tax is not just for homes, right? It's also apartment buildings, commercial properties, any real estate or transfer in the city of Los Angeles valued at more than $5 million. So they were taking this tax. It was between 4.5% from between $5 and $10 million, and 5.5% above $10 million. So this tax, right? They're using this money. Look at this. Los Angeles County is facing a shortage of estimated 500,000 affordable housing units, exacerbating the region's homelessness crisis. Over the past decade, the homelessness population has grown more than 75% to nearly 70,000, with people sleeping on sidewalks and tent encampments and camper vans throughout the country, right? So it's all about homelessness. If you look at this here, new LA Mayor Bass declares homeless emergency as term begins. WhiteHouse.gov, homelessness. They want to remove homelessness by 25%, right? A bold goal to reduce homelessness 25% by 2025 and ultimately build a country where every person has a safe and affordable home. How is that possible? Honestly, how is that possible? How can every person have a safe and affordable home if taxes continue to rise, insurance continues to rise, utility bills continue to rise, the cost to maintain properties continue to rise? How can rents not rise with it? Everything will continue to rise, right? But their target is the entire state of California, is where they want to remove 25% of homelessness. So the only way they're going to do that is by doing this, which all matches up perfectly. So if you look at this, I mean, there's some really, really deep pockets, a lot of power, a lot of money on this website, right? And you look at this UK government. I mean, you've seen some of these names before. IKEA. I mean, you got George here. You got FedEx. You have a lot of big companies, right? A lot of big companies. But look at what's happening in California, and you can see clearly. World Bank. You have Hillary here. You can see very clearly that Los Angeles is following this exact strategy. So Los Angeles, view city profile. Come down here. Click accelerator. You come here and you can look at. We can look at buildings. Building accelerator, right? And so they said we pledge to enact regulations and are planning policies to ensure new building operate at net zero by 2030, right? But look at this. So when we look at what we do, we look at energy and buildings. We look at this right here. It says that the need for buildings and infrastructure will only intensify by 2025. We need to build 1 billion new homes. About 60% of buildings that will exist by 2050 haven't been built yet. This means constructing a city the size of Stockholm or Milan every week until 2050, or a city the size of Singapore or New York every month. So increasing housing stock, right? Increasing housing stock, reducing emissions, all these different things, right? So when you look at our cities, and then you come here, and you go back to Los Angeles, and you see what their plan is with emissions, you can see as well that this is all perfectly connected. This is all what's happening. So clean air accelerator. So it says right here that, for example, by rapidly expanding zero-emission public transport, creating low or zero-emission areas, supporting walking, cycling, implementing vehicle restrictions, or financial incentives, disincentives such as road use or parking charges, reduce truck or non-road machinery and city-owned vehicle emissions, cleaning up construction sites, equipment, reducing industrial emissions, reducing emissions. So you can see that it's all happening. So look at this. This is Title 24 in California. Title 24 in California. If you're a builder or electrician living in California, you're probably already thinking about how to meet state's latest leap towards net zero mandated solar and storage in every new house, right? So you can start to see how this whole thing is changing. California is going to go through a massive change, and it's very easy to see. You have this $18 billion commercial loan situation, this crisis. You have rents already coming down with the increase of California's housing stock by about 18%. All of this new guidelines through clean energy. You're going to have all of these newfound costs. It's going to be a big problem for a lot of leveraged landlords in Los Angeles that a lot of people will simply ignore for now. And you'll be able to ignore it for the short term. But all of this stuff is already happening. It's already coming. And so the smart and savvy investors, what do? They're forward thinking. They're paying close attention to this. If they're buying a deal or they're investing in real estate, they're looking at what these energy upgrades look like. They're looking at the idea of potentially seeing rents really fall in a big way, and they're underwriting their deal in advance based on these fundamentals. I mean, there's a company right now, this is something that everyone needs to pay attention to, is this company called Pace. Now, I've read a lot of problems with this company. I've never dealt with them personally, so full disclosure, never dealt with them, but I've read about a lot of their lawsuits, and what they're doing essentially is lending property owners money, and these property owners have to pay them back through their property taxes. That's actually right here on ca.gov. It says, so some risk associated with PACE financing. It says homeowners who cannot afford the interest property taxes from PACE contract could lose their homes through a foreclosure auction. So they essentially say, you don't have to pay anything monthly, but we're going to increase your property taxes. You're going to pay us through your taxes. And so when you don't pay, then they come in and take the house. So if you're going to get a loan for any of these energy upgrades, I would speak to legal counsel. I would just run your numbers. I'd make sure everything really checks out. I pay attention to all these things. I think it's going to be really important. I don't think everyone will do it. I think some people will simply just move forward and maybe regret it. But you see what I see. You see a large change coming to California as a whole. You see a big change coming to Los Angeles and San Francisco. They're doing all of this. California, Los Angeles, San Francisco, they're not alone. The more you look into this, the more you'll see that this is happening. I mean, look at just America. So just America, they're following very similar protocols in Miami, New Orleans, Houston, Austin, Phoenix, LA, San Francisco, in Washington, D.C., Philly, New York City. You just continue to Boston, you continue to go through, you're going to start to see a huge change. But I do think there's going to be a lot of real estate investors that are going to make a lot of money. I do think there's going to be a lot of, because who's going to build all these housing units? Developers, right? A lot of people are going to get government contracts. A lot of people are going to find ways in which they can make a fortune with this. But a lot of people are going to pay no mind to this, and then, down the road, they're probably going to regret that. What do you think about this? Drop below, hit the like button, add me on IG for short form content you won't get anywhere else. And if you need help fix your credit, we'd love to help you. We'd love to help position you for what I believe is the greatest wealth transfer of all time. Catch you in the next video.